Odo of Rennes, Count of Penthièvre, was the youngest of the three sons of Duke Geoffrey I of Brittany and Hawise of Normandy, daughter of Richard I of Normandy.Eozen married Agnes of Cornouaille, the daughter of Alan Canhiart, Count of Cornouaille and sister of Hoel II, Duke of Brittany, who was married in 1066 to Eozen's niece Hawise, Duchess of Brittany. Role in governance of Brittany. When Eozen's father Duke Geoffrey I died on the 20th of November 1008, both Eozen and his older brother Alan were minors. Duke Geoffrey had initiated a dynastic double marriage with Richard II, Duke of Normandy, by marrying Hawise of Normandy, one of Richard's sisters, in 996. This was followed by the marriage of Geoffrey's sister Judith of Brittany to Richard around the year 1000. Alan and Eozen were thus double first cousins of Duke Richard II's children, including Richard III, Duke of Normandy, and Robert I, Duke of Normandy, nephews of Emma of Normandy, and first cousins of Emma's children Edward the Confessor, Harthacnut, Goda of England, Gunhilda of Denmark, and Alfred Etheling. At Geoffrey's death, Alan became de jure duke as Alan III, Duke of Brittany. Hawise took on the role of regent, and Richard asserted the role of guardian of Brittany. An arrangement reciprocated on the death of Robert I, Duke of Normandy, in 1035. Also in 1035, after a dispute between Eozen and Duke Alan III, their uncle Judicael, Bishop of Vannes, arbitrated, and Alan III gave Eozen the bishoprics of St. Brieuc, St. Malo, Tréguier and Hoel de Bretagne, as well as the counties and baronies of Penthièvre, Gerlo, Avocat and Lamballe. Eozen placed his capital at Lamballe, where he began issuing coins in his own name. Following the death of his brother Duke Alan III in 1040, Eozen ruled as regent of Brittany in the name of his nephew Conan II, holding Conan in custody. Conan was freed by his supporters in 1047. Eozen's regency should have ended when Conan reached his majority, but Eozen refused to relinquish control of the duchy. In pursuit of his own wider ambitions, Conan was fighting Geoffrey III, Count of Anjou. Since Geoffrey was also an enemy of Duke William of Normandy, the latter weighed in on Conan's side. In February 1054, as an enemy of Conan's, Eozen fought on the side of King Henry I of France at the Battle of Mortemer against William, but William won. Undaunted, Eozen maintained his alliance with Anjou. In a charter dated to 1056–1060, Eozen granted land in Pago Belvosensic to the Abbey of Angers St. Auban. Witnesses included his wife Orgwin and the sons Gausfridus, Alanus Rufus, Wilhelmus Rotbertus and Ricardus. By 1056 Conan gained the upper hand in Brittany, and in 1057 he captured his uncle Eozen and chained him in a prison cell. Eozen's eldest son Geoffrey Botterill continued to fight. In 1062, peace was concluded between Conan and Geoffrey. Eozen, who was now free, continued the fight alone. In histories favorable to the House of Penthièvre, Eozen is shown as effectively ruling Brittany between 1040 and 1062. In other histories his rule is shown as ending with his capture in 1057. Conan was a legitimate contender for the title of Duke of Normandy, so he became a serious rival to Duke William. In 1064, Eozen's liegeman Ryveron I of Dol invited Duke William to join him against Conan, thus initiating the Breton-Norman War of 1064–1065, in which Normandy, Anjou, Hoel de Bretagne and the captive Harold Godwinson combined against Conan II, as depicted in 3 panels of the Bayeux Tapestry. Historians differ on whether William or Conan should be considered the victor in this conflict. Involvement in the preparations for the Norman conquest of England. Eozen provided, trained and equipped 5,000 Breton soldiers for William the Conqueror's army. Of these, 4,000 were professionals, comprising light cavalry, heavy cavalry, archers, crossbowmen and axemen. He also trained 1,000 levied spearmen. Eozen put these troops on 100 ships under the command of his sons Count Alan Rufus and Count Brian, and they sailed from Brittany to join the Norman forces gathering at Barfleur, then on to William's staging point at St. Valery-sur-Somme, in readiness to cross the Channel. Rebellion against Hoel II of Brittany. Despite his advanced years, Eozen was involved in the failed 1075–1076 rebellion against Hoel II, Duke of Brittany, by Geoffrey Grenonnet of Rennes and Ralph de Gale. Hoel II was supported by William the Conqueror, briefly placing Eozen and William on opposing sides once again, a situation that was soon resolved when, to William's disappointment, Hoel came to terms with the rebels. Death. On the 7th of January 1079, at about 80 years of age, Eozen died in Cesson-Sévigné, an eastern suburb of Rennes. He was buried in St. Brieux Cathedral. In his memory comes Alanus Rufus, his second son, donated property to Swavesey Abbey in Cambridgeshire, for the soul of Patris Sui Eudonis Scomitis, by an undated charter witnessed by Ribaldus Abardulphus Fratres Comitis, family. Thomas Forester's 1854 translation of Volume 2 of Orderic vitalizes the Ecclesiastical History of England and Normandy, Book 5, Chapter 9, Section 43 and page 164, last paragraph states concerning Eozen's sons, God also gave him 7 sons, who became remarkable for the singular and changeable events of their lives. The studious might compose a long and pleasing history, from true accounts of the various fortunes. Eozen's children with Agnes include Adele, Geoffrey Beautrelet, Count of Penthièvre, Brian, Earl of Cornwall, Alan Rufus. He promoted trade at Boston, Lincolnshire, built St. Mary's Abbey, York, Richmond Castle and the first castle at Middleham, and was effectively the first Earl of Richmond, though the majority of his manors were in East Anglia. Richmondshire in North Yorkshire is described in the Domesday Book as Terra Alani Comitis in Ebraxire. In the rebellion of 1088, he was the first of the great magnates to support William II of England against Odo, Earl of Kent and his allies. Alan the Black inherited from Alan Rufus. Stephen, Count of Tréguier, married Hawise of Gingham, succeeded Alan Rufus and Alan the Black as de facto Earl of Richmond. Stephen and Hawise had a number of legitimate children and her children, all of whom are ancestors of the current British royal family. Robert, a priest in Yorkshire. Richard, a canon of Bayeux at the time when Thomas of Bayeux, Thomas's brother Samson, and William de St. Calais were also canons there. Guillaume William, who came to Switzerland, entering the service of the Holy Roman Emperor. He was the suppressor of the revolt of Agzunum, and received a castle in his honor. An unnamed daughter, who married Enisandus Musadus de Pleveneux, who was the Lord of Chieveley in Cambridgeshire and first Constable of Richmond Castle and Lord of some 20 manors in Richmondshire. Chieveley was recorded until 1457 as remaining under the overlordship of the Honour of Richmond. Sons of Eozen who were probably illegitimate include Ribald, who received the lordship of Middleham from Alan Rufus; Bardolph, who moved to England where he held the lordship of Ravensworth and became the ancestor of the Fitzhugh family; Bowden, Lord of Bedale and brother of Bardolph; Darien, Lord of La Roche-Darien in Brittany. At least 2 of Eozen's sons were early participants in the Norman conquest of England. Eozen's descendants formed the junior branch of the Breton ducal family, which gained control of the duchy in 1156 under Conan Ivy of Brittany. Odo is a 28th great-grandfather of Cindy Crawford. Ancestry.